Ah, I think I'm here. Sorry. Uh, can you see and hear me? Sorry, I've literally... Okay. Welcome. I'm so sorry. I've never done this before, and I'm I'm not really a gamer. Um, anyway, hello. Welcome to the Bimbo Summit. I am the chief officer. Clearly, happy holidays, or whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate, even if it's Animal Crossing Egg Day for you. Um, uh, uh, Sorry, a lot of things are popping up to me. Um, I've things said, warning, your current resolution is not optimal. And I'm like, I've never been optimal. Okay, so speaking of Bimbo Summit, first thing I just wanted to say is you're probably a little bit stupid if you want to do comics or animation. But that is fine. You gotta own it, alright? You've gotta live your truth. I'm a dumbass, and I managed to do this. In the words of John Waters, sometimes stupid and cute is enough. I am being a little bit flippant, but genuinely taking this all a little less seriously and getting out of my head massively made me jump forward in my career. When you say lag, is that in audio or just I am behind? Because I think I set it to be a little bit behind because it made it easier. Okay. Comics is not fast and easy money, especially in the UK publishing world. Developing an animated show is a very, very long, very hard, heartbreaking process. So you've got to need it. You got to need to tell stories. You got to have that ache where you need to share your ideas, and it's okay to not want to do that. It's okay to just want to draw, to just come up with ideas. It's totally cool to just make work with your friends and all that stuff. But if you, making your hobby your job is always crushing, and it always makes it hard, but it can be amazing. And a dream job, which I think is what I have, is just something you enjoy 51% of the time. So that's just my brief at the top. Hello, everyone. My name is Hamish Steele. I am going to be looking at the chat. I don't have any help with this. And trying to answer questions. It might actually help if you just put loads of question marks at the end. And if the questions are relevant to what I'm talking about, I know I have a slight delay. But I will at the end go through all of the questions I missed and do a question answer section. But I've got a lot to sort of get through. And I'm thinking I've got it all in a Google Doc and thinking of sharing that as well. Yeah. So who am I? I thought I'd introduce myself, and part of this is going to be bigging myself up because this is all about pitching, and a lot of pitching has to do with self-worth. And I think it's important to say you're great sometimes. It's something Americans are a lot better at doing, I've noticed. Just in general, when going to comic fairs and going to comics awards in America are insane. Everyone is just so into comics, and over here it's just thank you very much, goodbye. Both are valid. So I'm Hamish Steele. I've been an animation director and a comic writer, creator person professionally for over 10 years. I am the author of Pantheon, the true story of the Egyptian deities, DeadEndia, the Watcher's Test, and DeadEndia, the Broken Halo. Um, I also create draft excluders. A year ago, I won Most Promising Newcomer at the Eisner-Awards, which was lovely, for Pantheon. And they haven't awarded me about anything since, so clearly they were stupid. That's some self-deprecating humor. I'll talk about that later. I've released 3 animated pilots. They're called Dead End, which is what DeadEndia is based on, Badly Drawn Animals, and The Tall Tales of Urchin, and all of those are watchable on YouTube. But stay here for now, you can watch them after. And those got released, and I have done many more pilots and pitches in the interim, but a lot of those cannot be shown. I'm going to show what I can of some things, but it's not going to be the cream of the crop. It's literally, I can show these because they massively failed. Over the years, I have worked with Disney, Netflix, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Hangover. I've done work with Nobrow, Boom, Dark Horse, Random House Comic Graphics. And when I say worked with, sometimes that is literally had conversations and shown stuff and got back and forth, because a lot of things don't reach the light of day, but they're all important to your career, and they all you learn a lot from each one. And then right now, I am the showrunner and creator of a top secret animated series that hopefully will be announced this summer. I cannot speak about it at all. I can't say who it's for, can't say what it is. But yeah, we should be announcing it in the summer, and then it should come out later next year at some point. Obviously, it's a strange world, isn't it, right now? So we have no idea what. This chat is going to cover animation and comics, but I'm not going to be splitting up the advice because it's really relevant, and actually I've found in my career that the process of developing both has been quite similar, even if the execution is like a really different process. But this is all about the start. It's all about ideas and selling them. So I think that the information is relevant for both, but I'm sorry if I like slip in and out of talking about pitching animation and comics. I'll try and be specific where I can. But the reason why I did all of that self-congratulatory bowl is because I wanted to basically explain why I think I have some experience and things to talk about on this topic. I have spent 10 years of my life pitching and developing, and it's a hard road. It's obviously having a show now is amazing. The fact that secret is sometimes frustrating because I want to scream from the rooftops like how excited I am, and I think you're all going to love it. But it has been a long, hard road. And firstly, I do want to say that even though it took 10 years and it was a lot of hard work, obviously a lot of luck comes into this, and in my case, quite a bunch of privilege. I don't think either is required to make it, but I understand that why I was chosen, why some things have been easy for me. But I think with my privilege, it's my duty to use it to try and help, try and create more pathways from the inside, and do stuff like this. So, speaking of the industry, if you have ever drawn a comic, you're part of it, okay? You are in the comics industry. Just because it's not on a shelf, just because it's not, wherever you make comics, you're part of comics. And the industry is changing every single month. I mean, obviously things are different now, at the moment, literally, because of the virus. But even before then, and I'm talking about TV as well here, maybe especially, it's literally shifting constantly, and can be quite hard to catch. And that's why I think it takes so long, is because you start out in your career trying to grab hold of these like little slithers, and you have to have like the patience to wait and to like understand where the slithers are coming from. I don't know. I was imagining like bears and salmon. Just a reminder, you can ask questions. So the animation industry is constantly changing. Luckily, at the moment, in this strange world, comics and animation are things that can be done from home. All of my books were done from home, never had a studio. And the show is, I'm very grateful that the whole crew is working from home. I'm trying to lead it as best I can. But animation might be one of the things that kind of saves a lot of people's careers. The live action industry has just like shut down. But voiceover work's going to be really important for actors, and we can all mostly work from our computers, even though it's still tough. So while I don't think you should spend isolation like trying to write your masterpiece, and there's no pressure to like create right now because you aren't working from home, you're working during a crisis, so it's not always the best example. If you can, it could be a valuable time to get things ready for when things start picking up and people are looking for content and shows and stuff to make people cheer up. So that was a long introduction. I've got one question. How was joining the industry different from your experience at uni? So yes, I went to university. Again, I'm very lucky to have done that. Again, also, I don't think it was necessary. What more important than being taught stuff was being given, I don't say given, I paid for it and I'm paying a lot for it still, being given the time to dedicate yourself to art and to... I went to Kingston University, I studied illustration and animation as a joint course. And while I don't think I learnt things there that I couldn't learn on the outside, I was able to get the time to like work on what I like to draw. And you can do that in your own life without art school. It obviously just is more difficult. The thing that's different is I have never been more stressed in the industry than I was at uni. It was hell. And I wish I could sometimes go back and like understand what I was going through, but I had to make animated films where I was the director, the writer, the producer, the voice actor, the sound designer, everything. And it was quite good having all those jobs, so that now when I go into roles where I'm directing, I know what everyone's going through to an extent. But it's very nice to just write. On the show I'm working on, I'm created, but I'm not directing, I'm not animating anything, I'm just writing and guiding, and that's way more relaxing than uni. So, pitching. Let's get this party started. There is a reason why this is here. I'm going to like show you some stuff. I'm going to divide pitching into 3 things. And they are you, your idea, and how to get it seen. So to start with you, to quote Matilda's dad, people don't buy a car, they buy me. I know he's the villain, but it's quite good advice. When you're pitching, it's a job interview. And this is sometimes something that's quite hard to get people to believe in, but trust me, the idea is not very important. It's probably the least important part of a pitch. You are far more important. The person you're pitching to, especially in animation, they are looking for a long-term relationship. They're looking for someone who believes in what they're pitching, can sell it to other people, someone who is flexible, someone who is collaborative, someone who has the confidence to see this to the end. If you've done all that, you have succeeded in pitching. And if the idea doesn't actually make it to TV, if it doesn't get greenlit, you've still succeeded in pitching, because your job in a pitch is not to get your show made, because even if they want to develop it, that's like another year of developing, and so many things can happen. The goal in a pitch is to make everyone in the room your number one fan. They're looking for they're looking for potential more than a fully finished concept. They're looking for someone who can get it finished. They're looking for someone who is reliable, that they can talk to, that doesn't like respond to questions about the concept defensively. They're looking for someone who's open. Someone who can talk about it, someone who can do the press junket. All the stuff is going through their heads when you're pitching to them. The stuff that's on the screen, or the stuff that's in their hands, or the things they're scrolling through in a PDF could be anything. Because if it's the best idea, but the person pitching it doesn't look like they can take it over the finishing line, then it's useless. So it's an audition, you know. And the reason why you need to make everyone in the room your fan is you could have the best idea that anyone has ever seen, but they could tell you, sorry, we're already doing a cartoon of a cat. Or, no, we already have a magic show. Or we already have a show about a boy or a girl. And I know that sounds ridiculously reductive, but you have no idea what they're also developing. You have no idea how many pictures they've seen that day. And in my experience, so many things I've been working on haven't happened because of something out of my control. Like literally because some person I'd never met had a meeting with someone else I'd never heard of, who had one idea for an episode that reminded them of my thing, and they wanted to do that one more. And executives are always looking for the similarities, and I'll come on to why that can be useful later on. But they could, the idea could be bad. So the reason why you want to make them your fan is because you want them to leave remembering you. Even if they've seen 500 cat shows that day and they only want to pick one, they might remember you. And execs move around a lot. You could be pitching at one company and it not work out because of, like I said, they're making another cartoon that's a bit too similar. But someone in that room might be working at one company one day and then working at a different company the next day or 5 years later, and they'll remember you, and they'll remember that you can sell an idea, and maybe that same idea can work at their place. And I've talked a lot about like selling yourself. You can be shy, okay? Obviously you want to be yourself, and you want to, you want to make sure that who you are is at least someone you want to be, and is an agreeable person. I'll get onto that. But if you're shy, if you're a nerd, if you're someone that like can't articulate your ideas very well, and that's very common in our industry, use it. Being charming doesn't mean being Prince Charming. It can be, I used to be very, very, very scared in these pitches, and I would use it. I'd use a bit of self-deprecating humor, but I'd use a bit of honesty. I'd say, I'm really anxious, or, that can be making someone your fan. It doesn't, I think it can be a disservice if you're like pretending to be super confident and cocky. That's not what selling yourself is. That's not what someone looking for a long-term relationship is. If you are really shy and awkward and dorky, that might be what they're looking for. I wanted to just say again, like, they will have seen a lot of pitches in their time, maybe even that day, and like I said, they might have 100 shows that they've seen about a cat or a witch or whatever, but they won't have seen your show. And so you are the unique selling point of your show. You're the USP. And I think that's now time to talk about ideas, because I just said that they weren't important. It helps to have a good idea as well. I'm just going to check for questions. Hello, everyone. I hope this is enjoyable. Is there a big difference between pitching in person versus not online phone Skype? Yeah. So everything I said, I was like using the idea of you in a pitch room. That won't be the first time you've been talking about this idea. More often than not, they'll have seen the idea. Everyone in the room will know why you're there. Depends on what level this is. When I was doing my shorts, that was less the case. I came in with a few ideas. I would say there's not much difference between in person and like a video call or anything like that, but a lot of pitches are just done through email. So this will be relevant when we come into this pitching, which is the pitch document. It's got to be something that works. You got to like put yourself on the page. It's different and not. Another question. Do you also sell your job within the pitch, e.g. as the writer or as the director? Yes, you should always have a page dedicated to yourself and the crew, if you have crew in mind, if you have like a director that you want to work on it. I've only ever pitched shows wanting to be the showrunner. I guess it's not unusual to pitch something but want to be the writer and director. One thing that's been illuminating on the show I'm working on is just job specificity. When you're in development, you do have to do everything, and you have no money. I mean, you get sometimes given a bit of money for development, but it's nothing. And there'll be a skeleton crew. And so during the early months of going from development to pre-production, I was doing so many things out of habit that I wasn't supposed to be, because we were hiring the people to do those jobs. So early on, I thought I'd be the director, I'd be the voice director, I'd be doing a voice, I'd be writing, I'd be doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. But showrunner is quite a vague job, and you can sort of define it yourself. I'm very attached to the writing, but I'm sure there's showrunners who are a lot more attached to the directing. So say what you want to do. So let's talk about the idea. And I promise I'm going to use the screen at some point. You don't just have to stare at it. This is not a... everyone knows this, but there are no new ideas. As I said, you got to explain why your witch cat show is the one to pick. This is also maybe like obvious, but don't pitch something you don't like. And I mean this specifically in, don't bring 3 ideas if you'd be disappointed with them picking one of them. That's it. Sometimes you want to bring as many ideas as possible to impress them and show how like crazy and how wide-ranging your like ideas are. I promise there'll be another chance to do the other ideas, but I know this from experience because I've done this so many times. I love Badly Drawn Animals and Urchin, but both of them were like the third idea. And I'll show you what the first idea was, and it was weird. So yeah, it at some point they're going to ask, why is this idea important to you? And if it's because you had to fill out I had to have a third idea, or that's not it, that you don't want to do the third idea. And that's good for that's advice for everything, like thumbnails, without a doubt. If it means not sending as many as you, general rule, be honest. I'm so sick of people like trying to save face and everything. Be honest. Say, I tried to do 3 ideas. I didn't like the third one, so I'm just going to show you the 2. It's fine. Be honest. When it comes to ideas, another thing I'm going to say is if you're looking at what's on TV right now and you're trying to make something that fits, you are way behind, because everything you're watching on TV was pitched 3 or 4 or 5 years ago and was greenlit in that cultural landscape. So don't try and follow trends, because you just won't be able to, because everything moves so slow. You've got to make just something that makes you laugh. Something that's be present. Like, think of what you just want to watch right now, because that's just like a really great way to enter a pitch room with an idea that you're like, don't you wish you were watching this right now? Not, don't you wish you had commissioned this 5 years ago instead of the other thing that's on TV? Or don't you think this will be great in 5 years' time? When I said like that third idea, it's okay to just abandon ideas and try again. You don't have to just like only pick the idea that's, the one that is your soul. If you get to develop a show, chances are you'll grow to love something super well. So it's okay to abandon ideas, but don't ever throw something in the bin. Almost everything I've worked on have been a Frankenstein, a cannibalization of previous ideas. Dead End for Cartoon Hangover was literally one character from one comic, one character for another, a setting from a different comic I did, and when I say comic, I mean like ideas, like not fully realized things. And I stuck it all together, and that was fun. Another thing about your idea is it sounds cringy, but it's blank meets blank. It's actually super helpful, and I always thought it was really like, oh, avoid saying that, but every single project I've worked on at some stage, people like want to know what it is. And this is no shade to executives, because this is not true. A lot, most of them are really, really creative, especially in the cartoon world, but you've got to explain it to the least creative person in the room, the least imaginative person in the room. And part of that is because any like dead air in your pitch, they're thinking what the show is. And if they're thinking of it in a different... I'll talk about this project later, but we were pitching this like charming, beautiful, like coming of age adventure series, which in my head was like Spirited Away and all that stuff. And I didn't say any of that in the pitch, and at the end of the pitch they said, oh, it's great, we've been looking for a Family Guy for kids. And I was like, what have I done? That's not the show. So, and it doesn't have to be other cartoons. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's Steven Universe meets Gravity Falls. That doesn't really help. It has to be, try and make it sound funny. I pitched Pantheon to Nobrow as Drunk History meets The Simpsons. And that's kind of what it is. But I didn't just say, oh, it's like this comic and this comic. Give them a little bit of something to imagine in their heads. All of that said, when it comes to ideas, the only thing, the literal only thing that matters is characters. I'm not joking. The only thing. The setting, the story, the beautiful season finale you have in mind that's going to make everyone cry, literally none of that matters. That stuff will change. That's stuff that they want to be involved in, they want to help shape, they will have ideas for, they'll have had so many years of experience writing stuff. They just want to know your characters. On the current show I'm working on, before it got greenlit, while we're still in development, we were writing scripts, and an exec asked, why is this show about this character? And I was like, because that's my baby, and I love them, and I knew why I liked them. They were my OC. I loved them. But I didn't know, I didn't realize that I hadn't said that. I hadn't said that to the executive. I hadn't shown it to the audience yet. It was nowhere in the thing. Why was this about? Why has this character been given this story? And it really shook me. But that's good. And they liked loads of other things about it, but your characters, even if they have a very like really specific backstory or a really like new idea, there's got to be some universal relatability. TV is about seeing the world, seeing your world kind of reflected back at you, even if it looks super different. The emotions that the characters are going through, what that matters to them, is what television is and what storytelling is. So like, they could be anyone, but I need to know in this pitch why I should care, why they're like me or different to me. It doesn't mean you have to make an everyman. I think that's bullcrap, because you don't need someone to be like you to understand what they're going through. And speaking of backstory is not character. Backstory is story that isn't relevant right now, which is why we don't start there. Some would say it's never relevant. And don't make your character bio just a biography. Don't make it a bio. It doesn't matter. I don't know why I should care where this character comes from if I don't know who they are. A character bio in a pitch is a character walking up to you in the street and starting to talk to you. And I've got to decide right now if I want to push this person away, or I want to follow them, or I want to talk to them. And if they just launch in being like, when I was 10, my family were killed by the vampires, or whatever, I don't care. I mean, actually, if he said that, I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I think characters are really interesting if you like to really rigorously test them out. To like download, I sometimes download like speed dating questions, or do like, I like role play as them and do like a BuzzFeed personality quiz. Think about your friends, like who of your friends would play them in a movie. Think about actors who would play them. I thought, again, this is something I learned. I thought this would be cringy, but in a pitch, literally just saying this person would play them, or they're like this character from this show. Again, no new ideas. If people think I like that character because they remind me of that other character I like, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's like when people come up to you at Comic-Con and say, look at your stuff, and go, huh, looks like Steven Universe. And in your head, you're like, no, it's really original. But at the same time, they're never saying that because they hate Steven Universe. They're saying it because I like that thing, so I like this thing. It's always a good thing. What would your character's hot takes be? What would they write on secret Twitter? And why is watching your different characters interact fun? It doesn't have to be because they're like polar opposites. It can be that they get on really well. It's like actually a really rare and beautiful thing to watch characters just get on, because you've been told that conflict is far more fun to watch, but conflict doesn't mean arguing. It can be that they get on too well. But your characters are the show or the comic. They're that's the show. After I made Dead End at Cartoon Hangover, which is Frederator Studios, I got to have a very swanky breakfast with Fred Seibert, who's the founder of Frederator Studios. And he was a really nice guy, and he told me that the reasons he liked Dead End was that he likes obviously the haunted house and everything like that, but he said that Barney, Norma, and Pugsley could be in space, or on Everest, or in the Wild West, or at Jurassic Park, and he still knows what they'd do, and he'd still be excited to watch them. Some things, like, not everyone can make Star Wars. Star Wars is production design porn, and I know we like the characters in that world, but it's world first, and that's great for Star Wars, but maybe don't start with Star Wars. Yeah, characters. Okay, let's look at some examples. Okay, this is something I'm working on at the moment. So it's a work in prog. It's not. It's called Crock and Roll. This is actually for a comic. I've got there's artwork in this by me and also George Williams. That's tiny, actually, isn't he? At Neatedon on Twitter. I'll link. And this is literally a work in progress, so it's not actually finished. But I wanted to show a pitch document in this day and age shouldn't be a Google Doc with things written out. If you're going to make an animated show or a cartoon show, and you got to sell this to the least creative person in the room, the least imaginative, you got to show what the show is. And so the document should reflect the vibe. Writing out what the tone is always really clunky, so if you can just show what the tone is, if you can make a document look like the show you're selling, that's very helpful. So one thing, so cover page, there's a little log line, just briefing what the comic is. Next page, again, have fun with it. You like, this is cartoons and comics, like, don't be formal. So this is explaining the what is it, and I go into a bit of detail there about like what it's inspired by, but again, I'm just putting familiar things in front of their face. It's just this meets this. In this case, it's Teenage Turtles meets Gem and the Holograms. And then I kind of go on, I go a bit more specific with like the concept. Again, the idea is not important. So if you realize you're writing a character, like a show story description that is not mentioning the characters ever, then you're kind of doing it wrong. If it's just like, in a world where blah blah blah, I'm sure your fantasy world is beautiful, but you can just say fantasy world, or you can just summarize it in a couple words. So this only talks about the characters. This talks about what the characters are feeling, what the show's about. I end this description with saying, and the quest for stardom will make them realize that they don't need anybody's approval. They just want to rock. And so if you can summarize what the point, what the like feeling you want people to get at the end is, that's very helpful. And then, like I said, character is the most important thing. So I would actually probably say 2 pages. For character at the moment, this is just 1. But if you can summarize the character in little bullet points and then give a bit more, there's a little bit of backstory here, but I don't give the full details. I want enough that they want to ask questions. And what's more important, I've highlighted words that are important to this character. She's called Mayday Mendez. So I've highlighted rock bottom, which is where we find her. Look past their unusual appearance, so she doesn't judge people. I've highlighted give a damn, because she's very determined. I've highlighted the best kind of teacher, and I think that's like a way to make people start thinking about people in their own lives and who's their best teacher. Oh, I like Mayday because she reminds me of my best teacher. And then at the end, I've highlighted stage fright. So I've highlighted this flaw and implied in the rest of the dialogue, in the rest of the writing, that that's the thing that she's going to overcome by the end of the show. I go through all the characters, I put little jokes in, you want, if it's a comedy show, maybe, you know, if it's a serious drama, maybe don't, but it's a comedy show, so I've got to make someone laugh. I've got to convince them that I can tell a joke. So his character's called Croc O'Dial, and I've put in brackets right next to that. Get it? So yeah, so we go through the characters one by one. Again, this isn't finished, but I think also showing like sketches and work in progress, concept art, like this is the stuff they're going to be looking at in the production of it. So they want to like just see an example of how you work. This page at the end is like why you should have it. Again, this isn't finished, so I would have usually a page about you, in this case, who I'm collaborating with. And I think if you're not an artist and you can't, and you want to pitch a show, or you aren't very confident with graphic design or anything like this, collaborate. Like, collaboration is always a good idea because it means that you are pitching to someone constantly. You're pitching to someone every time you're talking about it. You're trying to convince someone else that your idea is a good one. So I would add something about the team, even if that's just you. Like I said, tone's quite hard, but if you can explain what an episode or an issue is like, and again, where it's going, and be ambitious. Say like, by issue 3 or by season 5, like this is where I want to go. They want to see. Usually, they want to see if it has legs. So this is a comic idea, which I'm currently working on. Like I said, most of the things I can't show. The things I'm proud of. I wish I could show you this pitch. I think the best pitch I've ever done on something isn't the thing I'm working on. I'll explain later when I can talk about what I'm working on. But I came on to pitch. Basically, I was hired to create the pitch document. It wasn't my concept to begin with. I was given a concept and I was told to like turn it into something that was sellable, and it didn't end up happening. But again, for reasons out of my control. But that I worked on with 2 people, Joe Sparrow and James Lancet. Look them up; they're great. And the collaboration of like writer and storyboarder and artist. There was actually some more people involved. We like commissioned other artists to like draw the characters, because if your show happens, you're not going to be doing everything. So you got to like. Another good thing is to show you working with other artists. So anyway, I'm going to show you a pitch that didn't really fail, but other things happened and I'm not working on it anymore. And I'm going to show you this because it's not the most brilliant thing ever, but something cool came from it. So this is called Big Boy Now. It's my love letter to Super Sentai, and this is when my idea and my theme is more important than the characters, and I think it shows. I think what's exciting about the show is the subject matter. Sometimes I start with a quote. This is my love letter to Godzilla and Tokusatsu and everything, so I started with a famous Ishiro Hondo quote. Sometimes it's just like a mood setter. This is a director's statement, which was suggested because I was always pitching this to people who didn't love kaiju as much as me, so I had to explain why it mattered to me. And I opened up. I try to. I didn't just say I love it because it's this. I love it because it's this. I said I love it because I am. I love it because of who I am, and I explained who I am. So I launched straight into characters, but these aren't great examples. You can tell that when these are 2 pages for essentially the same character. He kind of transforms. And when it comes onto these 2 characters, it's like, oh wow, budget Barney and Norma. They're so underdeveloped, and I could tell I cared a lot more about plot. and like showing off kaiju and stuff. I did do a storyboard for this. I might release it, but it just wasn't it. And so the reason I'm showing you that is because something that I did think was a good idea, and I would suggest this if you really believe. The reason why this didn't happen wasn't because it was bad per se, but I was doing other things as well. But because it was like a hard sell, because no one I was pitching to had heard of kaiju or cared, I made this, which is so that was for a animated show, not a comic. And because I didn't feel like the pitch explained what the show was, it didn't tell you what watching it felt like, I made a mood film. Let's see if this works.
友よ、君たちはなぜ悪魔に魂を売ったのか。報酬戦ライブマン。君には聞こえないのか。激しい風のささやきが君にもきらめくはずさ。焼けつく愛の稲妻が空を見ろ。闇を砕け熱い星をつかむのさ。命のヒーローギラリ戦えライブマン。若さをぶつけて生きている素晴らしさ教えたら光り輝けライブマン。明日に向かって青春爆発ファイヤー。青春炸裂ファイヤー。当時全体ライブマン。
Thank you, Shaw Brothers, for most of the good clips in that. So, yes, my document didn't explain anything about what watching the show felt like. It was all grey and confused and bland. But after watching that, everyone in the room got it. And they were like, shit, I want to watch this show. I want to watch more. My agent showed his son, and his son was like obsessed with watching that. And so if like a kid can be obsessed with that mood film, it's kind of a way of saying like, that's what we want to make. So kids will love this. In the end, I felt that I wasn't the right person to make a Sentai show. And I wanted to watch it more than I wanted to make it. But that Big Boy Now is like like I said, cannibalizing old ideas. It's like the third iteration of me wanting to make a Godzilla show. Originally, that was what I pitched to Nickelodeon when they chose Badly Drawn Animals, and then I pitched it again, and they chose Urchin, which is probably the right decision. Anyway, so a mood film or any kind of supplementary thing is great. Because the pitch document, you might go through it in a pitch, but more likely it's something that they can look at afterwards, and it can be watched or read at their convenience. Because being in a writer's room, not a writer's room, in a pitch room, you're not going to be like all set around reading the text. That's why like highlighting words is good. They're going to be, you're going to be doing the talking. They're going to be looking at you, not the document. And I think just some other things I want to say, like page order is really important. In that Big Boy Now one, there was like a few things to get through before you got to the characters. By the time you got to the characters, that late, and remember the characters are the heart of the show. They were what the show is. It's a little bit confusing. I'm going to hurry up because I wanted this to end at 9, but there's 10. But there's some things I want to hurry up, and then he goes off talking about himself. Okay. The third point. Would you advise? Questions. Would you advise dancing in your pitch? Yes. Every time. How to get in front of someone? Okay. So I've talked a lot about pitching, but like, how do you get the opportunity to pitch? And I don't know. The industry has changed massively since I first pitched Dead End. Originally, I pitched the Dead End thing to Cartoon Hangover because, and that was like that was my first job actually, like ever. Like, it's a very good first job. But they literally were posting on Tumblr, like asking for submissions, and I submitted something. And I think keeping your ear to the ground, so many places do shorts programs. Again, I don't know what things are like at the moment. I don't know how many things are being commissioned right now, but animation is pressing ahead, mostly around the world. But keeping your ear to the ground, looking out for stuff. Obviously, you want to make everyone in the room your fan, but first, you've got to be fans of other people. You should be following people. If this is the industry you want to be in, you should be starting to get to know people. And I'm not just meaning other artists. I'm meaning looking up agents, producers, the production side of things. And basically, emails. My whole life, my whole career has been from sending emails. I promise you, you are not annoying. Anyone that works in this industry, a lot of their emails are going to be quite boring. Often my day is just sending emails. I'm doing Zoom Hangouts at the moment. But getting like an idea or seeing like a brand new artist in their inbox is probably one of the more interesting things that happens to them that day. And sending follow-up emails, again, you're not going to be annoying. And the worst thing they can do is ignore you. Maybe they'll mute you, but that's like nothing to lose. When I originally sent my Dead End pitch, no one replied because Hurricane Sandy happened. Shows how long ago this was. And they were in New York and they had complete shutdown. And I had to send a follow-up email when I thought things had quieted down to say, hey, that pitch. And yeah, the hurricane had meant that they had forgotten about it. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, we like that. Just follow up. And again, email people that make sense. Email artists and stuff, but don't be like the people that sends like, oh, it's my university assignment to contact people in the industry, because that's kind of annoying. Sorry. Everyone finds it annoying. You're not annoying. Your teachers are annoying for setting that because it's stupid. But send emails to relevant people. Like, a lot of people have acquisitions or pitches, or it'll say on a lot of publishing houses' websites what they want to get submitted. And obviously you can show people at events, obviously not at the moment, but at conventions and stuff, people sorry, I'll keep rattling ahead. Yeah, be annoying, because you're not going to be annoying, is what I'm trying to say. Finally, this is very hard work. It's very fun work. It's very hard. You got to have confidence in yourself, and obviously that's quite hard to get. I didn't have it when I started. I don't know how much I have it now, but if you can at least have confidence in yourself for an hour when you're pitching something, or in that 10 minutes you send an email, then that's what matters. Nobody is owed a shot, but everyone deserves a chance. You are part of the industry if you're in any way creative, if you're engaging. The audience is part of the industry. So there is no door, there's no wall, there's no like line and you're on the other side, no matter how like inexperienced you are. in this world, when we don't know what's going to happen to the animation and comics industry, it's now a great. I mean, obviously it sucks, but now is an opportunity to help shape what the comics industry becomes. So even though there's no wall, if you feel like there's some barrier, like make them come to you. Help shape what the comics industry looks like. It's cool that I have books on the shelf, but these books on the shelf are not being read as much as like thousands and thousands of webcomics. Sometimes people invent measures for success, or they say, I'll have made it when I have blank, and everything's changing so much, so it doesn't matter. Like, who knows how we will be, like, reading comics in the future, you know? So that's that. The other bit of advice I'd say is you do have to play the game a little bit. You have to be nice. I see so many people who want to make it in the animation industry, and literally all they do is complain about the animation industry, or their Twitter feed is just negativity, and at worst, like, full on harassing the people making cartoons. Talking trash about the industry you want to work in, A, is for secret Twitter, but B, like, why do you want to be part of this? If you hate it so much, why do you want to be here? Is it jealousy? Is it bitterness? Or is it that you have stories that you need to tell? Or you feel like you have a point of view that can be a benefit to other people? And if you enjoy it. But if it's just because you hate Steven Universe and they're all hack frauds and you could do a much better job of making a show, maybe give it... see how hard it is, and maybe don't think that making that really loudly and clearly is your way to stardom, because it's quite a small industry, and we remember who are jerks. Much better to make someone your fan than your enemy. Then I would just say, don't hide your ideas. A lot of people keep their ideas really, really close to their chest and don't show anyone, but no one can get into a show that they can't see anything of. And also, I think people keep, like, waiting for the opportunity to fall in their laps, and this is shitty, but commissioners and everything, they want to pay for as little development work as possible. So if you can do most of that yourself, Pantheon only got published because I'd already published it myself through Kickstarter. If I had to, like, pitch that, it might have been a bit hard. A very long time ago, Barney and Norma, the characters from Dead End, came from a comic I pitched to Blank Slate Comics. And I don't know if he remembers this, but I'm almost certain it was someone who's a friend of mine now, called Martin Steenton. He gave me advice that he basically said, the most important thing for a publisher is proof that you can finish it, and proof that you can deliver something on time that is what you said it was. So for a complete unknown to say, this is going to be my graphic novel, it's going to be bigger than Scott Pilgrim, maybe it would have been, but they don't care. What they care about is, if you are completely untested, is that you'll deliver what you say you will on time. Which means you do have to, and this is kind of, it's shitty. I agree it's shitty, but you kind of have to make it yourself. Which is why your first project shouldn't be a 6,000 page, like, fantasy epic. It's okay to just do a 22-page comic or less, and show that to people. Maybe just do the first chapter of the book if you want to make a big one. I'm wrapping up, I promise. Yeah, proof that you can finish an idea is always more important than the idea itself. And also, again, we're in the industry. If you're making comics, so ask your friends, ask your peers, reach out for help. That's what I'm hoping I'm doing with this. I'm trying to reach out to you guys and offer some support. So I'm going to answer some questions now, but if you do have more specific questions about your pitch or your ideas, feel free to @ me, DM me. I'll try and respond. The one thing I can't do is like free pitch reviews, partially because of time and partially because I don't know if I'd be the best person. Someone I kind of want to shout out to is Ayula Sularin, who I'll put somewhere as an @ she was the amazing script editor on Pantheon on DeadEndia 2. But I'm using her at the moment for my Crocodile pitch as like a freelance pitch reviewer person, and she's not the only one. There's others out there. But if you can't do that, just pitch it to your friends. Your first pitch of your project should not be to an executive. It should be to someone, family or friends, or your dog. Okay, so I'm just going to answer some questions. Blah, blah, blah. Would you say there's a point where you can have done too much work on an idea before pitching it and you spoil it? Yes. Think about, again, when doing your trial run pitching, literally sit down and pitch it to yourself. And if you're there after 20 minutes, and if you get tired of yourself, you've gone too far. You gotta have something to talk about after they've read it. And like I said, tease your ideas for the future, but literally in terms of like, it'll make you cry or it'll be exciting. And show why it will be, but don't go into if you have this like amazing twist in mind, don't lead with it. Twists only work with build-up. I think first draft, put everything you want in it, and then when you pitch it to other people or show it to people, that's when you can start cutting pages and save them so that when people ask the questions, it's quite good when you can answer every question about your idea in a pitch. But it might be better to leave them out. One question, how do you actually get into it? Or if you're creating the pitch, how do you get it in front of the people? Oh, you're kind of talking about that now. Yeah, I just send emails. In summary, send emails. Email anyone. Sorry, I can't be more specific. But if, like me, and you get to do that first go of it, slowly, hopefully, it'll shift to people sending you emails and people asking what you're doing and if you'd pitch something to you. Slowly. Any good way of finding agents in the UK? I'm literally in the process of doing that. I have, so I work at somewhere called Blink Industries, or a part of Blink Inc., part of Blink Productions, Blink. And literally just the producer of there works as my agent, but he's not like an actual literary agent. So I'm actually looking for that advice too. And so the next question is, can you pitch without an agent? I'm the proof that you can. That said, you will get shitty contracts, and they'll tell you that they're great, and they'll tell you that this is the best they can do. And then when you get an agent, you realize it's not the best they can do. They can do a lot better. So if you do have someone who has any kind of if they can read legalese in any kind of way, use them. But anyone can have an agent, and your agent works for you. Their job is to get you jobs, so anyone is deserving of one. But yeah, you can show people stuff without agents. I've not had one really for 10 years, and I'm telling people that they need to get one. But I have anxiety and I get stressed out. So that's the end of the questions, and that's the end of this. I have thought that I might do one on development. So what happens after your pitch has been approved? When you pitch things, you're not going to move from pitching to production. You're going to go to development. They're going to test you. I just got one last question. When you email people to introduce yourself, do you already attach the pitch document, or do you keep it shorter? If you're completely emailing them out of the blue, I wouldn't attach anything. I might attach your website, and at most a thing called a one-pager, which it's kind of like the first page of that crock and roll pitch, but maybe a little bit more information, but basically an image that might intrigue them. But most of all, your first email should actually be questions. It should be, can you submit things? What kind of things are you looking for? And that's not tone. That's like 22-minute shows, 11-minute shows, comedy. Usually they kind of have something they're looking for, and that can be, we made too many magic shows, so we want something set in the real world, or we want shows with female characters, we want shows with that, and that would be like the blanket vibe of the moment. So just send them like, what kind of things do you have in mind? Like I said, you're pitching yourself, not an idea. Now I'm gonna stop the questions there, but please at me anything. I have a tradition. This is my first YouTube live stream, but I have a when I've been live streaming drawing comics, I do have a tradition of how I end every single live stream. If you've been to one of mine before, you may remember. I'm taking a sip because this is a big thing. Here we go. It's the goodbye song. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope this has been great. Sorry it's overrun and I was late. But here we go. Thank you. I love you all.
Been up here lighting up the sky.
Luna, do you have time to sing a goodbye song before you go?
Join me.
Always bear.
Hey, this was really fun. We hope you liked it too. Seems like we've just begun when suddenly we're through. Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. 'Cause now it's time to go. But hey, I say, well, that's okay. 'Cause we'll see you very soon, I know. Very soon, I know. Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. Tomorrow's just like today. The moon, the bear, and the big blue house will be waiting for you to come and play. To come and play. To come and play. Bye now. Bye-bye, I love you.